Welcome back, everyone, to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report today for Monday, September 9th, 2013. My website is ggnonline.net. On YouTube, ddarko2012 and ddarko2013, my YouTube channels, if you're new. If you're a normal GGN viewer, I have a TrueTube channel, and I just opened it up, and a YouTube channel that I just started called Race for Survival. I talk about things that I mentioned in some of my YouTube videos for GGN, but I'm not sure, I'd like to keep it kind of general for GGN. That's what I'm going to try to do now. But when I talk about race or anything, white guilt and stuff, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about it in those channels. So I'll see how it goes. But if you are interested, then please subscribe to them. All right, in the last video, we were talking about Syrian militants. Basically we saw the video of the Free Syrian Army openly merging with Al-Qaeda. We talked about how the Free Syrian Army, the Western-backed trained, CIA-trained Free Syrian Army, went into Syria and got their asses kicked. We know in general that the opposition backed by the West and Saudi Arabia, Gulf countries, are getting their butts kicked. So the goal is not about regime change. Maybe it's just to destabilize the area, to balkanize them, and in general destabilize the region. So then that makes Iran weaker. Of course, that's an ally of Iran as well. But regime change seemed to be is part of the agenda or the plan, because that's what they said and wrote in their Brookings Institute policy for regime change for Syria. So it appears that the White House has now changed their plans, because now they're saying that they don't want regime change, not saying that they don't lie, but maybe they don't. Remember, because we just covered in the last month about how Syria could be split up into 3 states. Like we said, a Kurdistan, autonomous Kurdistan, they'll give them their proxy state finally, and it won't be because the Kurds fought for it and got it themselves. It'll be because it was handed to them by the Zionists in the West, and really they just whatever global interest that has set them up for energy purposes and that. But then, of course, you'll have the Shiite Assad type Syria that'll be considerably smaller. Then you'll have kind of a Muslim Brotherhood proxy state with these individuals running it, the Salafist, kind of as a reward, where the Al-Qaeda flag will be flying high. So we left off with this: Syrian militants ready to target Israel with chemical weapons. And we said that was funny because this is what Assad was just saying. I also warned of risk of possible chemical attacks by the rebels or terrorist outside intervention happened in Syria. We talked about how if something happens with the U.S., their carriers, their drones, their whatever, gets hit or attacked, then they're going to blame it on Syria, and then they're going to attack Syria. They got to get then once they do that, Syria might attack Israel. Like I said, I don't think so, or Iran. I don't think they have too much to lose to attack them, so they won't. Then the rebels, these guys, will go ahead and carry out an attack against Israel. They'll blame it on Syria and Iran, Hezbollah, and that way they can attack all 3: Lebanon, Syria, and Iran. U.S. admits no imminent threat from Syria and no clear evidence Assad ordered chemical weapons attack. The Obama regime ramps up war pitch, even as basic arguments fall by the wayside. So Obama is going on a whirlwind media blitz this week in an attempt to sell a very skeptical public on war with Syria. Yet the Washington Post notes Obama's top aides say the administration lacks irrefutable, beyond a reasonable doubt, evidence that Americans, including lawmakers who will start voting on military action this week, are seeking. So yeah, it goes on the German intelligence. And backing up, we talked about last video, U.S. says common sense test holds Assad responsible. The White House asserted on Sunday that a common sense test dictates the Syrian government is responsible for a chemical attack. This is not a court of law, and intelligence does not work that way, White House Chief Dennis McDonough said. He says common sense test says he is responsible for this, he should be held to account. So the common sense says that he has everything to lose to do it, and the rebels have everything to gain from it. So that's, to me, that's common sense. But like I said, we'll see, right? We'll see. I think that common sense. Maybe that's what protesters are exercising finally, is common sense about this whole thing. But when some kind of horrific attack happens again by the rebels, the Western-backed rebels, and it's blamed on the Syrian government or Hezbollah or Iran, that people are going to start doubting their common sense abilities. I mean, can you believe this? Neoconservative, pro-Israeli talk radio hosts are among those leading the charge in opposition to military action in Syria. So the thing is are they just taking their are they just getting their marching orders? Usually because they're all about support Israel, which is about attack Iran. And they're an ally of Iran. So what's going on here? Are they being told, well, it's more important right now to just keep the, anti-left rhetoric up, Obama, they're going to just, everything about these guys is about Obama's the devil, he's actually in charge. That's the biggest misconception, to just keep stampeding that home, that Obama's somehow in charge of this, and he's a leftist, a liberal, so then they could just keep that narrative going. So I guess that's more important than saying, well, let's support Israel, take down the Assad regime because they're a threat to Israel. Some more evidence about what I'm talking about. We are not threatened. This is Mark Levin. And we're not threatened by Syria. They're not going to attack us. They're not going to attack Israel. So when he says they're not going to attack us, he means they're not going to attack Israel. If Syria was going to attack Israel, why wait now? So what happens when the rebels attack Israel and blame it on Syria? Then Levin's going to say again, like Limbaugh, I'll never make that mistake again. So, someone pointed it out to me. He's actually listened to Michael Savage and that, he says, he's always said he's a big neocon, and neocons are associated with being pro-Israel and Zionist. And Michael Savage is now saying that the Obama regime is pursuing military action in Syria to appease Israel. So something really weird smells, something smells weird, right? So you had Levin saying, if Iran is the target and Iran is the target, why would we go through Syria? This is lunacy. So, and Glenn Beck saying, we are insane. So this whole thing is just crazy, right? Brookings Institute is following this whole kind of project for New American Century, which is which path to Persia, i.e. Iran. Well, it's Syria. So, guys, I'm just like, at this particular point, my brain is just like fatigued with all this news and disinformation, because that's what it feels like to me. They got all eyes focused on this for, whatever reason, and they got all these people protesting against it, hands off Syria, warmongering neocons supporting this anti-war effort. You have Obama going to Congress, breaking protocol. And trust me, I'd like to see things like that be genuinely true, come from the people, from grassroots. Things are changing for the better. But I know for a fact that people aren't free, so this isn't coming from the people, it's coming from the top down. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. I hate to say that, but I see all the, Occupy, all this stuff, all these movements and that, protests, WikiLeaks, the Bradley Manning, and it all just seems engineered from the top down. So all this protesting of hands-off Syria, to me, seems more like people are being told to go out and protest and actually care about this now, all of a sudden. John Kerry gives Syria a week to hand over chemical weapons or face attack. So they have no evidence whether they actually did this, but now they're going to tell them to hand over their chemical weapons. It's too bad he doesn't ask the rebels and terrorists that he's supporting to hand over their chemical weapons. But John Kerry added that he has no expectation that the Syrian leader would comply. Syria welcomes Russia's offer to put its chemical weapons under international control. So Damascus welcomes Russia's call to hand over its chemical weapons to the international community. Again, I don't really think there's an international community. I just think there's a bunch of rich corporations and private interests that run this planet. But this is a Russia initiative. This is apparently what they came up with when Obama was over in Russia and they talked on that. And I believe Gaddafi of Libya did this and complied with this order, and then he was attacked afterwards. So remember this, 75,000 troops needed to secure chemical weapons if Damascus falls. So I guess if they get those chemical weapons out of there, they won't need 75,000 ground troops, right? Well, this is funny too, because this was actually a congressional report that was done, a year or two ago. It says here that what would happen if the chemical weapons would fall into the wrong hands? Well, they already have. That's who's carried out the attacks. So they should have already, right, sent their 75,000 troops to secure the weapons, at least according to their logic, right? Yeah, in regards to Israel's press saying Assad will disappear one way or the other, this really is a great line for a Hollywood action movie, which is what the whole stage conflict in the Middle East resembles more and more with every passing day. You got, like I said, you got these neoconservatives saying this. So, it's Israel that wants Assad's air force neutralized, Glenn Beck saying, I'm not a anti-war activist. Then you have, who is this? Levin. I'm not an isolationist, but I've had enough of these nut jobs who want to go to war. So I mentioned before that World War III, people talk about World War III, and I was basically quoting the supposed article with Albert Pike and talking about what it actually meant with World War III. And it has a bigger agenda here at play, which is basically having the Muslim world, which would basically be surrounded by the Islamic Republic of Iran, and political Zionism, which would be Israel, fighting each other to complete exhaustion, these surrounding countries not knowing what to do. And it's funny because they use the word fomented, which is kind of an operational word, right? So this is going to be completely staged. So maybe that's what these neocons are doing here. Maybe they're ready to wipe Israel off the map. Think about America too, right? With America, once Israel's gone, for them that's a big stronghold. It says here, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or directions, anxious for an ideal. But he says after fighting the nihilists and atheists, and what I think are kind of the cultural Marxists, they'll basically be offered the doctrine of the Luciferians, right? So it says Christianity and atheism will basically conquer and exterminate themselves. AIPAC to deploy hundreds of lobbyists to push for Syria action. Pro-Israel lobby says 250 activists will meet with their senators and representatives in Washington in a bid to win congressional support for military action in Syria. So Obama plans intense media campaign? No, Israel plans intense media campaign to sell Syrian war. So where Congress stands on Syria, 238 are against military action. Most of them are Republicans. Most of them that are for, 26 are Democrats, and undecided are a bulk of Democrats. So we're hearing this crap about Obama he's basically damaged the presidency, right? Could significantly weaken the presidential office, so he's weak now, right? Actually, he's going to Congress so we can have a wider regional war, long drawn out past 90-day mark of the War Powers Act. And he's depending on this undecided to get ushered and coerced into to going for this. And so far, it seems to me like they might actually do it. They might actually be for it. These are, quote, liberals, anti-war people, peace activists. All it takes is some good, like I said, old-fashioned coercion, threats, blackmail, false flag, false patriotism. Even so, White House is confident that Congress will approve war. So Chief of Staff of the White House said they were confident. They said that the resolution would pass after we work this out. Work this out what? Well, try to sell it to the American public. Try to work the American psyche out. Computer program uses Twitter to map mood of nation. Interesting, because Assad said, we're not like the American administration. We're not like the social media administration or government. That's the whole damn point of social networking and Twitter. To map the mood of the nation. That's what British scientists have developed a computer program that they say can map the mood of the nation for engineering consent. That's why I said they know. The algorithms are showing that people are aware of what's going on, so they had to preemptively make a protest prior to them doing all of this. But for whatever it's worth, it says Americans were 12 times more interested on Miley Cyrus than Syria, even though the news sources published 2.4 Syrian articles for every one about Miley. Pentagon is adjusting plans for a more intense attacks on Syria. Turkey starting to build a new military base near Syria. And 600 Royal Marines are going to deploy to Jordan. They're going to be donned with chemical warfare equipment for a drill. Where Saudi Arabia possibly supplied these chemical weapons to the rebels. The UK and Saudi Arabia launched joint air drills. The US will bomb Syria with long-range bombers. But ultimately, in the end, I agree. The Syrian war aims are either a failed state or Western liberalism. Thank you.